Ever since foundational Black Americans started delineating, tethers have been upset. Been sad themselves. They don't know what to do with themselves. Now they're projecting lies, saying that they're the pro-Black ones, and we got to debunk that.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Welcome, my brothers and my sisters. I'm your brother Afro. We're having an early live today. I have something I have to do later on, so we're having an early live. This isn't going to be a permanent switch up, but we'll kind of play with it. We'll see what's going on. Maybe you guys prefer the lives to be a little bit earlier in the day. So we'll see what's going on, because I do it for you guys. So if you guys prefer it, then we'll see how the algorithm kind of plays. I think they shadow ban at a certain time anyway. So we'll see. But I want to thank you guys for being here, because normally we don't go live this early. So you guys are here, especially because I made the announcement. So thank you guys for that. I want to give you guys a shout out for that. And I also want you guys to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the notification bell. Okay, that's also what I want, because that's very, very important. So hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all of that good stuff. All right, we're going to get stuff started. Before we do, okay, just to protect myself and to protect the channel, we're going to play the copyright disclaimer to establish everything that we play thus forth is protected under the guise of fair use. Okay, going to play that in a second. Let me start off with this. All right, there's going to be some things, and now when we talk about the movement, a lot of people say like, oh, when is the FBA thing going to end? When is the movement going to end? It's not. FBA is a lineage. FBA is not a movement. Let me repeat that. Let me be crystal clear with you all. FBA is a lineage. It's the same lineage that we were formerly referred to when we were African American. When we were African American, nobody said, okay, well, when is this African American stuff going to end? Nobody said that, because it wouldn't make sense, because it's a lineage. Anytime somebody says things like, well, when is all this FBA stuff going to end? It's not going to end, because unless you eliminate us all, is that what you're implying? Unless you do that, it's not going to end, because it's a lineage. There's no end to this. Now, there is a movement that exists among FBAs, very different, but FBA in and of itself is not the movement, all right? Let's just be clear with that. FBA is a lineage, all right? Now, the people who are a part of the lineage understand that in order to defeat systemic racism, in order to defeat the power of systematic racism and the racial hierarchy, we have to delineate. That is very important, because we got to figure out what goes where, who gets what as far as reparations are concerned. All of that stuff is very, very important. All right. So the delineation is an absolute must and a necessity. It's not done out of a reaction. People make it seem as if delineation is done out of a reaction. No, it's not. I've said this many times, even if we had the greatest relationship with the diaspora, delineation would still need to be done, because in order to defeat this system, there is still a order in which things are done. So we can't pretend as if we have this open door universal lineage where people get to come in and come out when they see fit, when it benefits them. All right. So we got to shut that down. We're shutting that down. All right. And anytime we see it, not that we're super obsessed with it, because they're the ones who be starting it. Anytime we see it, shut it down instantly. So with that being said, I'm going to play the copyright disclaimer, because I know y'all want to get to the clips. We starting early, but we starting strong. Y'all want to get to the clips? I get it. I know. So we're going to get to that. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. I'll be right back. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit, just so we don't get no copyright issues, but I want you guys to be able to hear. Also, we have discussed this. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. The dude right here. I'm not really sure. This guy. So we discussed this is Godfrey, and this is a former football player. Now, they're both Nigerian. We've discussed their podcast before, and this is another episode that they have on that podcast, and we're going to break that down as well, too. We're going to be discussing exactly what that means and what they're saying, because they're going to bring up the tired old African booty scratcher thing, and you know that's their thing. They love to embellish on the whole African booty scratcher thing, so let's listen to what they have to say. All right, we gotta check it out. Bear with me, y'all. Fair use as well. I'm playing back a little early.
They can't call them because they don't believe them. Hello, Zimbabwe. Click. Those I kill. That's my Comedy Central first set. And so after that came on, man, they called my dad. It was like, we just saw good. We just was watching on the TV. My father said, I like this comedy thing. Everybody knows me now.
Oh.
But I did it in a dignified way. I never
right.
did cheap jokes because my father is my father.
Yeah, right,
that's my
right.
dad. My dad's bomb. Yeah. And then plus I respected my father.
Yeah.
My father was awesome, So yeah, it was very respectful. And that was my first time saying, let me talk about being Nigerian.
Yeah.
I was born in Nebraska. You born
And
here?
that,
In Nebraska.
and that wasn't always like, to me, like it's so cool, like where we are today, I think, in society, because before it wasn't that way. Like for me growing up here in LA, it was a totally different thing. I mean,
what was that like?
Oh my goodness.
Nigerians in LA. I never really thought about Nigerians being on the West Coast because it was always Midwest. It was always Midwest, like Chicago, Milwaukee, all the Wisconsin. That's what I knew. But I never.
There was a prominent group in Southern California. There was a prominent group of Nigerians in Northern California. This was like it was a pretty big presence. But there were some that weren't as out there with it. But I couldn't hide because my name.
Hell no.
It was.
Now I want to pause right here, because what he said is very important. Do you guys understand that when we're on the For the Culture channel and all of that, and we ask people, hey, can you state where your parents from? Because I'm an African American. And every time they say that, we say, well, hold on, because a lot of people say that they're African American and are from Africa, the continent, and then are American citizens or American residents. So where is your lineage from? And they be all like, well, hold on. Now, I am an African American. My family was from Georgia. My family comes from this. My family comes from that. And sometimes realistically, a lot of FBAs are in the South. Most FBAs are in the South. As true as that is, the only black people in the South are not FBAs. Okay, you do have non-FBAs all over the place. Just like Godfrey said, like when you think of Nigerians, you're thinking of like Chicago and you're thinking of these other places, but you don't really think of a lot of Nigerians in LA. And I want to pause that so this can simmer in, letting you guys know, yes, Nigerians and not all other non-FBAs, Africans, Caribbeans are all over the place. So you can't any longer assume that just because they're not in a certain part where we know, like New York or Chicago, where we know a lot of non-FBAs live, doesn't automatically mean that they're FBA. Okay, so having that out there, I wanted to highlight that and harp on that before we skip on to the next point, because they're going to get to it. They ain't even got to it yet. They're going to.
It's just like, I'll never forget. I was always after like a Garcia. And I'm like,
here comes yours.
Oh boy, here we go. And as soon as it's
like Gabba Dabba Doo.
Akbar.
Akbar Gabba Dabba Doo.
No, it was always It was oh boy. And I'm just like,
Shabba Dabba Dingo.
No, right here. Just right here.
Yeah, let me do that.
And I'm sitting here like trying to rescue them.
Yeah,
like right here.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm gonna slaughter it. And then you're like, Gabba, Gibba, Jibba, and the whole class would just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know, like the episode from Key
which one?
Key and Peele.
Demetrius Sergivanis. Ohio State.
I tried to stop them and they wouldn't stop, man.
Wow.
And so anyways, but that was crazy. But it was crazy because I just remember it, to me, like the saving grace for me with my name had to have been Eddie Murphy's Coming to America.
Wow.
It was the defining moment for me, because I just remember like that one scene where he's on the balcony. Yes, that's you too. Yes, because he just owned it, right? You know, everybody else is like, for me, growing up in a Nigerian household, but growing up in an African American community,
no doubt,
there were two different worlds. It's like two separate different worlds. And at home, I'm very proud of who I am. It wasn't until I got to school
I started feeling weird.
You start feeling weird, and everybody making fun of you. And so I just remember I said, I was right around when the movie came out, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to own.
Okay, thank you. Want to pause that right there because he's saying a lot, and I don't want to make too many pauses because I know that kind of interrupts the flow a little bit. So I'm not going to do that. Notice how he said that growing up in a Nigerian household, and then he uses African American, but we'll substitute that with FBA. He said they're like two different worlds. Correct. That is correct. That's a correct statement, because our cultures are very different. When people make it seem like, man, what's the big difference? He grew up in a Nigerian household. That means his mom, his dad, his uncles, his aunties, his grandparents, if they were living here, his cousins, all of that are Nigerian. More than likely, his neighbors and all of that were also Nigerian. The people he went to church with, if he did go to church, they were all Nigerian. Then when you went to school and you were around FBA children, the jokes were different, the clothes were different, the food was different, the culture was different. So right now he's saying, oh yeah, they're different. So when we say, hey, we have a unique, distinct culture, I want you to understand they know exactly what we're talking about. All of them do. They will play dumb like, what? I mean, black is just black. I mean, they can, when the police pull us over, you see my hand? I stick my hand out the window when I'm driving, and I'm driving like this. You know how they even pose. I'm driving like this when I have my hand out the window. I have my hand hanging there like this, and I'm driving, and they see my arm and they see my hand, and they pull me over because I'm black, and there's no difference. Yes, there is, and they all know it. So anytime they tell you that, where's the difference? We're all, but no, they know there's a difference. They know it. Okay. And then he talks about his last name, and his last name is something crazy. His last name is he has a very wild last name, like it's a long last name. I'm gonna put it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna copy and paste. I'm gonna put it in the chat to say exactly what his whole, because I can't even pronounce it, and I can see how people butcher it. I can't pronounce his name, honestly. I'm so serious. Hold on. This is his name. Hold on. Nope. This is his name. Right here. Let me get that right there. That's his name. Akbar. I just know how to say Akbar. I know how to say Akbar. That's his last name. So, oh yeah, you best believe he was clowned. Oh, you better believe he got made fun of in school. Akbar. That's his legal last name. So he stood out like a sore thumb. Believe me, he stood out like a sore thumb. All right. So they know the difference in that. Okay. Then he said he felt insecure or something, or alone or whatever, until after Coming to America 2, which I also want to highlight that Coming to America 2 was made by Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is a foundational Black American, and Coming to America, that's when foundational Black Americans consistently put their own time and effort and craft into trying to rebrand Africa into this majesty. Okay, that's when you saw the Coming to America movie, when Michael Jackson did the Remember the Time stuff. We were doing things to sanitize the narrative that Africa was a dirty, disgusting, uncivilized place, because that's always what Europeans have been trying to push. The narrative that Europeans have been trying to push, like, well, you know, Africa, they're a bunch of monkey people, really. They have no civilization, they have no sophistication and culture. Africa, they're living in huts and mud houses and stuff like that. And it was foundational Black Americans like Michael Jackson, like Eddie Murphy, who were putting out images, others as well, but who were putting out images trying to highlight the richness of Africa. So when you all come out here and be all like, man, y'all have always hated us, we have historically tried to make you guys' homeland look better, historically speaking. So this narrative of we've always hated you guys, we've always been jealous of you all, we've always envied you guys is never the case. That's never been the case. It's not the case now, honestly. There's no jealousy or anything like that today because there's never been. Let's get back to the video.
And I just like, yes, I am African, and I would just go in hard on
fuck
it.
you too.
No, I would just be, I'd make up lies. I'd be like, yes, I'm royalty.
Oh yeah,
and they were just leaning because I used it to deflect from all of the teasing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Black African booty scratchers.
Yeah, oh man, that was the thing. African booty scratchers.
That was the African American community. Like, you better shut your black African booty. I said, do we scratch our butts? I used to be like thinking, like, I'm picturing like, oh, do we scratch our? I thought it was
I
like
don't even know where that came from.
Black African booty scratcher. It was really funny when you look at it. That's a really funny description. Because first of all, African American community, they know how to talk about your ass.
Oh yeah,
they be like, I know you ain't talking old black African booty scratcher. Right. Sit up there or chasing lies. But remember in Coming to America when the dude with the Jericho was like this. Yep. So what they be doing in Africa, chasing lions and shit. So and then watching Tarzan movies and how they would just depict Africa.
It was so bad.
Everybody was starving. Mm-hmm. There was flies on everybody's face. And I would be embarrassed. And I remember this in grade. I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. And everybody was like, stand next to your country. It was a map. Stand next to your country. I stood by America. I was like, I ain't going over there because they're gonna make fun of me.
Yep.
I stood right over I was like, I'm American.
You know what? Because I think
everybody, American, not by Africa. I didn't.
Yeah, everybody wants to fit in. I had the same thing. It wasn't until I got older, you know, and then there was the Spike Lee movie that came out where everybody started to wear the medallion.
The African medallion.
I was like,
the power.
Man, yeah. I was like, man, you guys spent the majority of my.
Now let me be very clear. Let's pause that. The whole I was ashamed to admit. Now both of them are Nigerian. He admitted that's cosplaying. That's what that is. Okay, that's what that is. That's cosplaying, and he admitted he was ashamed. And I remember us doing a special on For the Culture about this, and I want you guys to kind of follow me with this. Godfrey was born here. His parents weren't. Even his older sisters were not born here, but Godfrey was. And what we realize is that, and I want you guys to notice this from this point going forward, notice this. A lot of not the Tethers really, who are born here. I'm talking about they were born and raised here. They didn't come here when they were 10 or anything. They've never been to their homeland. They were born and raised here. A lot of them have this like identity crisis. And they project that when they say we have an identity crisis. And you're gonna see that. They project the identity crisis and they say we have it. No, they are the ones who have the identity crisis. They're the ones who are kind of like ashamed because they grew up, and I've said this before, they grew up in a world where we have the dominant culture. Anytime you're in another person's country, their culture is going to be the dominant culture. And as foundational Black Americans, our culture is dominant even if it's not in America. Our culture is dominant globally. So when they come here, it's almost like a little bit of shame that they feel because they want to cling to their heritage, but then they kind of want to cling to our heritage. They're drawn to our heritage, but they're like hooked to their heritage. So they have this internal, and it's not our fault, but identity crisis. And this is something that Godfrey is expressing right now. Nobody would have, even if he would have had a joke or something like that, you can't tell me that that's the reason he was ashamed, because as a Black American kid, you are still getting clowned. You are still getting joked on. People are still, and unfortunately, kids make fun of kids. And we're not going to sit up there and pathologize it and make it seem like it's some rare and unique occurrence when it happens to African kids. That's not a thing. It's not a rare thing. Every kid gets made fun of. Is it good? No, nobody is saying that. But that is the reality of going to school, going to public school, especially public school. That's the reality of that. So that's not the cause for your identity crisis. If you have an identity crisis, it's because you're living in a culture that's a dominant culture, and your culture is kind of fading out because there's only gonna be like one real culture. Even the strongest tethers, you know, who's like, I love my culture. Not really. They celebrate their culture on like holidays and stuff like that, or they do things to keep their culture in remembrance. But our culture is the dominant culture. That's the culture that they live by on the day-to-day. The language they speak, the dialect, the way they wear their clothes, the clothes they wear, the people they listen to, the jokes they tell, the movies they watch, the games they play, the food they eat, all of that, all of this culture, that's our culture. Okay? And we can go down the list, and their culture starts to fade. And they kind of feel ashamed of that a little bit. They feel lost. Now, is that my fault? No. Is that your fault? No. But that's something that they need to deal with. So don't project and make it seem like I was ashamed because y'all be picking on me. No, because you can't tell me you didn't get picked on because they thought you were FBA. No, we're not. And don't lie.
My childhood making fun of me, and now you're wearing this. But it was this like this moment where I think everyone started to try to lean towards that way. But there was this. I mean, colonization messed everything up. Slavery messed everything up. Because I remember, like, once I started to own my name and who I was, I would tell the kids, it's like, well, you're black. You African too. No, I ain't black. First off, I got Indian in my blood.
See your baby hair?
Your baby hair. Right? Like,
the baby hairs?
Indian. It was like anything to be further away. I was like, but you're black. Yeah. How can you? Like, black people don't come from anywhere else but the continent of Africa. Yeah. But we were that messed up. No, to where it's like I have to disassociate. No, my family we're Creole. We come down from Louisiana.
But that's that. But the southern Joe, I used to get this one. Oh man, you know.
Okay, hold on. What? Nope. Can't let that slide. So you guys were the one now. At first, y'all were ashamed to say your last names. I mean, it is out of last names, like this is like a stereotypical last name. It's like a last name you would see on a comedy special. That's how crazy that last name is. Okay. But you guys were the real pro-black people, really. And it wasn't us. You all were the ones telling us we were black. We were the ones denying our blackness because we said we had Indian in us. Now, then he follows up with another lie that the only black people ever come from Africa. That is historically and scientifically proven not to be the case. There are black people who have existed way before any European documentation that existed all around the world. Okay, black people have been all around the world. The concept that black people did not exist anywhere outside of Africa has been debunked. And we've done this several times on this channel. I can't even tell you how many times we've done this on this channel. We've done this a lot. And what's interesting is that y'all were telling us, oh, you know you're black, right? Really? Because it was us telling a lot of the tethers that they were black. And it was the tethers that were denying being black. We talk about the Puerto Ricans saying that they're not black, and that's a running joke. No, not Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. We talk about Dominicans and their denial of their blackness, but let's be honest, it was a whole lot of tethers who denied their blackness on a very consistent basis. Look at this.
Come on, we are not black. We are not black, and no matter how much Dominicans are not black, we are not black, and no matter how much Black Americans cry about it, we are not black. We will never be black. Yes, I look black, but we are not black. And it's just a reminder to Black Americans who are so pathetically forcing Dominicans to label themselves as black, where we keep telling them we have our own culture, we know black papi, they still force it on us. So just a reminder, Dominicans are not black.
I don't identify my.
Okay, all right. Now, she's not the only one. It's a running joke because they are so known for saying this. It's not one or two people who's all like, that's crazy. No, it's kind of, especially when it comes to Dominicans. Oh, you guys are pathetically trying to make us black. It's pathetic. Okay, all right. Now, when we say, okay, well, y'all never said y'all was black before. Now y'all saying that there's no difference because we all get pulled over by the police and all of that. Now they be all like, how are you going to deny our blackness? How are you going to do that? No. And And the thing is that y'all allowed this, even the ones who weren't saying that they're not black. You guys had this in your community and didn't push back against it. You guys weren't ostracizing the people who were denying their blackness. Y'all allowed your tethers to represent and to be the representatives of your communities and to get out there and push the narrative of, I want to distance myself from blackness entirely. And it is not just Dominicans either. Let's take a closer look at more people.
Myself as a black person anymore. I identify myself as a Jamaican person.
I've always identified as a Grenadian. American one, and I'm not.
Okay, all right. I identify myself as Jamaicans. I identify myself as all of these things. Okay.
Black. Everybody was shocked at that statement. Like, black? What are you then? Like, I'm a person. What is black? So what are you? Yellow, like lemonish beard? What is that with?
I'm gonna skip past it because I don't want the copyright thing. Because the music stops playing. So
because I'm black. When it's
so, of course, I'm not black. This is black. I'm not black. I'm not African either. I live in Africa. I'm Somali. I speak Somali.
Okay, you're Somali. You speak Somali, but Somalians are in Africa, but you're not African. Okay.
My flag.
I don't like this. Like, why are you telling me I have to do this because I'm black when it's been already pointed out that I'm Haitian? Why do I now have to submit to this idea of being black? That makes absolutely no sense to me. And that's what you don't get. A lot of people are
black. I have never and will never identify myself as black. And I'll elaborate as to why I'm saying this, because this is needed in so you can pretty much understand that just because I look like you, that does not mean I identify myself as such. So for instance, sweetheart, I am Congolese.
The world is colorblind. I'm not a black man. Yeah. Look at my face. Yeah. I'm more like brown.
And
I'm not black. Let me say that again. I am not black. Okay?
Hear me out. Growing up, my mom absolutely hated when we refer to ourselves as black. She's like, you're not black, you're Nigerian.
Okay, so let's get some stuff out of the way from the last video. First and foremost, when I said black Americans don't know where they're from, I mean that your people were taken 500 years ago from where they're from and brought here, and you don't know where they're from. So to you, you're a black American, okay? When you ask a person like me that's Dominican and obviously of black descent, are you black? We kind of feel like you're making us choose sometimes. Like, the new generation feels like we're being made to choose. Like, we're being made to choose black over everything else that we are, because we're more than just black. Like, we are more than just black, and we know we're more than just black. So we state we're Dominican, and it bothers you guys. And I just don't understand why, because we get it, but we're black. But you are black American culture, and we are of Dominican culture.
See, we make monsters under one valence of blackness. It's a curse. And see, with the curse, you have to reveal the truth. So I hope everyone is ready, because they are. Tink Tink and them are correct. We are not the same when it comes to delineating our identities. Black Americans, Caribbean immigrants, and Africans are distinctively different when it comes to the bottom line of who contributed what and how that's documented. And Black Americans, in quote, are the only people on earth who have built an establishment of freedom for themselves and for everyone. Okay? So melanin does not equal lineage. And lineage does not equal melanin or complexion. We come from the families who ratified America. Our ancestors fought in the American Revolution and voted in the early states of government. We helped ratify the original Constitution before the Caribbean and African immigration or Africa was even existed. Okay? After the Civil War, the U.S. government was illegal until freedmen, our bloodlines, re-ratified the nation through the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And this is the legal foundation of every right that black people in the world enjoy today, the citizens. And let's be clear, the idea of Africa wasn't even existing as one people, one identity, one homeland. It didn't exist until 1884 at the Berlin Conference, when Europe carved the continent up into corporate counties. It was not one identity. It was just tribes. And let's be clear, Black Americans are the ones who created the nation of Liberia and the entire West Africa, for that matter. Liberia came from us. We wrote the Constitution, we built the schools, and we founded the government. You got to be very careful when talking about your people from America, because we were shipped all over, boo. Panama. There was no Central America until the 1800s. We were actually shipped to Haiti, too. Yeah, we helped build the Caribbean as well. You got to be very careful about how you hate on us, because you may be talking about your people. But we have recordings. We have the information. We have the data. And that is what people are upset about and jealous and envious of. We built West Africa. We built Central America and the Caribbean. Why? Because we are the bloodlines. We are the first peoples. Family. Black Americans are the foundational people of America. We are the builders, the soldiers, the constitutional ratifiers. We are the legal heirs. Everyone else is a guest in the framework that we bled to build. Lineage is not up for group project. Okay, so if you want to talk about the Library of Congress, you want to talk about who the repositories around the world are built on, and fuck it, we with the shits, let's go. I mean, your people ain't ratified shit 3 times for freedom. Me no Reconstruction era, me no black. If you want to talk about World War I, World War II, if you want to talk about Tuskegee, if you want to talk about HBCUs, if you want to talk about the UNIA, if you want to talk about the Nation of Islam, if you want to talk about Black Power, if you want to talk about identity period, if you want to talk about Jim Crow, if you want to talk about J. Edgar Hoover, if you want to talk about civil rights, if you want to talk about the American Revolution, if you want to talk about the Civil War, if you want to talk about the Buffalo Soldiers, you're talking about our people. If you want to talk about the ancient builders and the actual influence for all art and culture in and across the world that we continue to contribute to this day, if you want to talk about the only people who lawfully own the land of America, you are talking about the Black Americans. The quote-unquote Black Americans, the foundation. And yes, we are different. Per their discussion in the beginning of the video.
Right. All right. Hold on. Let me use my sound effects for that. Let's come on. And that came from the Phil Scott's channel. I just want to give credit where credit is due. Credit where credit is due. If you guys are proud of being black, if you guys don't deny your blackness, if you guys are not ashamed and embarrassed by your blackness, by your black facial features, by your black hair, by your black skin, put the black fist emoji in the chat room. I want to know how many of my brothers and sisters are proud of our blackness, because I am. All of that, and I am, and I've always been, and I always will be. All it is, well, you know, I'm not black, I'm this, I'm not black, I'm this. And I let this play out for a long time because I wanted you to see it's not limited to Dominicans. Yeah, we know Dominicans do, and they might do it the most, but it's not limited to Dominicans. It's not. So now when the whole conversation, and that's important, I played that clip for a reason, and I want you guys to remember it, because we're going to go and we're going to get to another clip, and that clip is going to be relevant. It is. So remember that clip. And remember this moment when you guys are putting up the black fist, talking about how proud you are of your black heritage and of being black and calling yourself black. Remember that for later on in the live stream. Just remember that for later on. Let's get back to this, okay? Because it's not too much left, but let's get back to it. I mean, it's a lot left. It's well over an hour left, but we're not going to play the whole thing.
Because, you know, when you start liking girls and stuff, you know, and it was, you know, the colorism was big too. This is a Southern thing. And I would be like, they'd be like, you cute to be dark skinned. They would say that. What? Sure. You're handsome to be dark. I don't really usually date dark skinned dude. I go, and because being African, you're like, that's normal to us. Like, I got proud, dope, dark skinned uncles and light skinned uncles. Like, we're Africans. And, you know, and I was like, what that? What does that mean? Like, but that's just the Southern mentality. Or being around your light skinned friends. Like, they'd be like, yeah, I want to get as dark as Godfrey and stuff, or dark as another, because I had other African friends, and we just like, what? Like, But there's also colorism in Nigeria. There's lightning creams.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, we can talk about it now.
In Nigeria, they'd like, but Nigerians aren't good at lightening their skin. They look because
they always look
dark skin.
Yeah.
You look like you was dark skin. You don't know how to handle being light skin. There's a way you got to move when you're light skin. And these are, when they, even though when the Nigerians been bleaching because they're like, hello.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you was dark skin. Or you don't even know. You're not used to being this light.
Or they don't hit every spot up, right? Because the neck you hear, and you like, like, I know.
You Sammy Sosa this. You see, Sammy Sosa doesn't know what it's like to be light skin. He's moving light skin. He's like this. Brown knuckles.
Hold on, but if he was brown, when he was brown, how did he sit?
He sat there like this. Hey, okay, I'm from Dominican Republic. Like that. Hit the hold on. Now this motherfucker's like this. Buenos dias. I was like, you are not. We know what you look like before that. You should have bleached your skin before you went to the MLB.
Yeah.
Now, okay, now with the whole light skin, dark skin thing. All right. They did admit, and they admitted that colorism and skin bleaching in particular is a big thing in Nigeria. It's a thing in Nigeria. It is. It's a thing in Africa. It's a thing in the Caribbean. Guess where it's not a thing? Y'all want to take a guess? Y'all want to take a guess where skin bleaching is a shameful thing, where people get embarrassed when they find out that, hey, you're like 5 shades lighter. You turned 5 shades lighter over 2 months. How did that happen? Guess where that's a shameful thing? Here, that's a shameful thing. Over there, that's a normal thing. So my whole thing is, let's add up all the dots and figure out, you were telling us we were black and we were denying being black because we wanted to be Indian, even though the historic proof and scientific proof, even more, proves that that is the truth, proves that we were indigenous here, proves that there were black indigenous people here, okay? And everybody really knows that, even the people who deny it know it. Everybody does. But you guys were telling us we were black, and y'all got skin bleaching going on. We got clips, dozens of clips of many people from Africa and the Caribbean saying that they're not black, but we were the ones, according to you, denying our blackness, and you were preaching the virtues of being black and proud to us. You came to our country and you were preaching the virtues of being black and proud to us, despite the fact that all of these, I'm ashamed of touching black, I'm ashamed of being black, I'm ashamed of my dark skin, I'm ashamed of saying I'm black, comes from outside of America. Y'all go to the most, really, and I'm gonna say it, some people gonna be like, Afro, where are you going? I'm gonna say it. Y'all go to the most pro-black country, and y'all want to say that y'all the ones who are teaching us to be pro-black? You guys were the ones who were telling that to us. You were projecting. Okay. No. And don't project, man. Even with the whole African booty scratcher thing, let me say that. Let me say something. When that term started resurfacing, I thought it was made up. I remember the term because it came from a joke of the Bob and Abishola, I think his name, show. It was like a small comedy sitcom. Didn't last long, okay? But when I heard it, I was all like, African booty scratcher. I had never heard of that before. I've never heard of that. And then I saw a whole bunch of tethers. They were all on Twitter. And they was all like, oh my God, somebody finally said the African booty scratcher. We're finally able to talk about how we were called the African booty scratcher. And I was like, African... I never heard of anybody being called the African booty scratcher. I literally reached out to other people in my age group, and I was all like, have y'all heard of people being called that African booty scratcher? Nobody, all of them said no, like they did not know it was a thing. I thought that they were lying. I thought that they completely made it up because I never heard about it. I had to ask my mother, and she was all like, oh yeah, there was a thing. Back in the day, there was people did call other people African booty scratcher. So I didn't know that, because by the time I was born, that was already like out of style. By the time I was born, nobody was saying that. By the time I was born and was able to remember anything, that was well past anybody using African booty scratcher. So when I hear people today talk about man, they called me an African booty scratcher 5 years ago. I'm like, I know that's not true. Because that African booty scratcher thing has been gone. It was a dead thing when I was born. And all of the people in my age group, nobody remembers calling Africans in particular an African booty scratcher. So it's not just me and my personal experience. By the time that, like, the millennials, that was old, or I guess the later millennials, that was a done thing. That was already over. They're trying to resurface the African booty scratcher and embellish it. Now they're making it seem like, man, I got picked on because of my last name. Now you probably did get picked on because your last name. Because I mean, I'm just saying, like, if your last name is this, Akbar, bam. If that's your last name, you probably did get made fun of. I'm not gonna hold you. Not gonna hold you. But yes, yeah. The whole African booty scratcher thing, y'all are making it. First off, it came from a movie. It was a small little joke, and then we moved on. Y'all are making it seem, a lot of them, I don't even think were ever actually called an African booty scratcher. I'm gonna just say that. I think a lot of them are lying. I think they know it's a term that used to be used, so they're going back to the only term they know used to be used that has the word Africa in it. So a lot of them, I feel like, okay, I'm like, that, there's no way that was said like in the early 2000s. That's not true. There was no way that was said in 2005. And no, that was not no big thing. No. So I feel like a lot of them, I'm gonna be honest, are lying about it. Now, their age, they might have experienced it because they're like, what, in their 40, maybe 40s-ish, 50, maybe going on to that. So they might have heard it a little bit. But it was not no big thing. Not no thing where you can bring it up 35 years later. Like, it was not nearly that big of a thing. Nearly. I wouldn't even remember some of the jokes that were told to me when I was like 13 years old. Like little nicknames and phases and trends and stuff. I don't even remember that 10 years ago. Some things got to refresh my memory. You mean that you remember the term African booty scratcher, and when that term's been played out for like 40 years? For about 40 years, that term has been played out, and nobody's been using that. So no, okay. Come on, you're not going to do that. Yeah, Godfrey's like in his 50s, so maybe he did hear it. Maybe he heard it here or there, possibly. Because he's around the age where my mother was going to school. He was probably going to school. So he probably heard it. But according to Godfrey said that he didn't admit he was African. Godfrey said that he didn't admit to people he was Nigerian. Okay? So if they called him an African booty scratcher, they didn't call him that out of him being African because he didn't let people know that. He was cosplaying. So if they called him that, that's just proof that the word or the term African booty scratcher was not restricted to only Africans. Everybody was being called that. Yet they're censoring themselves with the term African booty scratcher. All right. So remember, we played the clip about of them saying I'm not black and all of that stuff. Okay. So that leads me to the next clip we got to play. Okay. This.
Saying that black.
Now, this woman is from the UK. I don't know if she lives there now or if she's still there, but she's from the UK. Just keep that in mind. You can hear her accent.
Black culture is just a Black American thing. It's so offensive. I told myself I would not be involved in any more diaspora wars, and I was doing a good job. Guys. Okay, until now, because now I have to say something. Unfortunately, I have to talk. I have to speak. The conversation that's going on right now on TikTok is so divisive, but so harmful to the Black community that morally I can't not say anything. Like, I have to say, like, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't say anything, because people are so wrong and strong, and they don't understand how violent this conversation is that we're having on TikTok right now. So the conversation we're having on TikTok right now, which I don't know why we're having it, because it's nonsensical to me, but the conversation is we're talking about being Black in America. So people are debating whether being black means just being black in America, as in black Americans equal black. So if you're not from America and you're black, you're not black. You are Nigerian if you're from Nigeria, or you're Jamaican if you're from Jamaica, etc. But if you're black in America, then you are just black. They're also talking about black culture, as in black culture is only black American culture. And this is so xenophobic, guys. It's just straight, we're just doing xenophobia debates. Like, it's so weird to me. The reason why it's xenophobic is because there is no such thing as just black culture in terms of it being just for Americans. There's no such thing as being black as in it being just for Americans. And if you believe that, you believe that Americans are more superior than the rest of diaspora, and you're being xenophobic. Let me break it down. Black is a race. So if you have melanated skin, you're black. Like me, I'm black and nerdy. We are black. If you are from Africa, if you're a descendant from sub-Saharan Africa, you have melanated skin, you are considered black.
Before we get into that, let's break down the whole thing of black culture. Can we do that? All right. Let me get her off the screen as I do that. Black culture. The term black culture comes from America. When you think of when anybody, FBA, non-FBA, when you think, even not, you can be a whole European. When you think of black culture, you think of America. You think of black America. You think of foundational black American. We're the ones who made black, first off, a popular thing, a thing that people are not ashamed of being called. Let's be honest. We're the ones who did that. Let's not lie about it and make it seem like y'all were all black and proud all the time forever. No, okay? Because and the truth of the matter is, until the Berlin Conference, you guys didn't even identify as one continent. Y'all were just tribes. Y'all were multiple. There was not even countries at that time. There were just multiple different tribes that lived on a big land mass. That's just what it was before. Y'all weren't even established countries like that. Y'all were just tribes that lived on a landmass. That's what the history actually is. We were the ones who made the word black a popular thing, a thing that wasn't people weren't ashamed of, a thing that people wanted to be. And then when people talked about culture, people talked about our black culture, black American culture, our culture here, our culture as far as the way we interact with each other, the way we interact with people, the way we joke, the way we laugh, the way we dance, our music, our entertainment, our food, our style, our fighting off white supremacy, all of this stuff. This is us. So when people talk about black culture, now you guys want to be included when you guys didn't put anything in. No. Because by definition, we're the first thing that people think of when they say black culture. Because we're the ones who've been carrying the banner of black culture the entire time, while you guys have been running away from it. They have been running away from it. Now we got a woman coming up here with a British accent talking about how it's xenophobic when we say, hey, if we've been carrying the banner of black culture and black pride, then black culture and that black pride means us. And they're like, oh, that sounds xenophobic. No, it's not. No, it's not. What part, I'm asking, what part of black culture is not FBA culture? What part? What part of black culture? You really have to think. And what we're not also going to do is, because y'all talk about, okay, the whole we're a race. Okay, what does that mean? This is why we got to make sure that we show the receipts, which is what I'm doing here. I want to show the receipts because y'all were running from that. And now you guys want to talk about, well, black culture, we should be included in black culture. Oh, no. Now that we got the party popping, y'all want to get invited in the club. But when we were setting the juke joint up, when we were building it up and we were investing in it, and when we were putting money in, and when we were staying there when it wasn't cool, y'all didn't want nothing to do with it. Now that it's popping, now that everybody has seen it, now that everybody's seeing the lights and the stuff shining from the windows, now you want to be like, hey guys, come on. I get a membership. Come on, let me in. Do you see my, come on, do you see my hair? Come on now. No, no. No, we're not doing that. Let's get back to the video.
Black. And in America, say you've got one drop of black in you, your mum's white, your dad's black, you are considered black. In the UK, you would be considered mixed race, biracial, etc. But whatever, you're black, you're black. Your descendants are from Africa, you got brown skin, you're from Africa, you're black. That's it.
Yo, I didn't even know she was gonna do the skin thing. I really didn't know I didn't see the whole thing. I swear I didn't know she was gonna do the skin thing. She literally did the skin thing like I did it. Okay. Tell me how I know she was gonna. I knew, because I know that's what they do. Black, do you see? Come on, I get a membership. Yeah, I didn't even know she was gonna do that. I'm just that good.
Black the race. Now let's talk about black the culture. Saying that black culture is just a black American thing is so offensive and so wrong, because if you break down black culture in America, black culture in America is made up of black people from other diasporas. You couldn't have certain parts of black American culture if you decided to just take out everyone. If you said,
let's see where this goes. What?
Black American culture is only for people that were descendants of chattel slavery. It's only for black people that descend from people that came over on the boats into slavery and then built America. If that is all that black culture is, then you would exclude so many people that were a part of black culture that don't fit that bill. For example, Malcolm X, he's Grenadian. So according to you guys, he wouldn't fit the bill of black culture in America because...
Do you see that? Okay. Now they sit up there talking about our brother Malcolm X. Notice that Tethers do this a lot. They do this all the time. When they refer to Malcolm X, they're starting to strip away his FBA heritage. They said Malcolm X is from Grenada. Malcolm X is not from Grenada. No, his mother wasn't even full Grenadian. His mother was a mulatto whose black side from the Caribbean was from Grenada. And then she also had a white father, okay, a white parent. So she was a mulatto. But Malcolm X was a foundational black American. His father was a foundational black American. He was born in America and lived in America his whole life, okay, and identified as American. They're telling lies that we can literally look up in the internet. Malcolm X has a whole autobiography. We can literally look up in the internet by his book, and we can figure out how he identified himself. He didn't identify as a Grenadian. And this is them because they don't really have nobody, so they're trying to get their hooks in wherever they can. I used this word before, and I'm going to use it. They're immigrantizing everybody. And I said they were going to do this with Malcolm X. I said they're going to take Malcolm X's Grenadian heritage, and they're going to keep adding more and adding more and adding more. And then they're going to eventually just strip Malcolm X of any of his FBA sides and say, well, Malcolm X is from the Caribbean. Malcolm X was Grenadian. No. And they're trying to do this because they don't really have their own version of a Malcolm X. They don't. So what they're doing is now they got to immigranize anybody in any way they can. They say, well, Malcolm X can't be a part of black culture because he's from Grenada. No, Malcolm X was not from Grenada. He was not. And even if there was a cool, and I'm not saying Malcolm X, but even if there was a handful of solid writers who are non-FBAs, that doesn't mean that they're coming to our culture. They didn't add their culture. They had to come to America. They're coming to our culture. So even if they were here, they're in the culture, but they're not of the culture. It's a difference to be in somebody's culture and then to be of that particular culture. Do you understand? So they didn't add anything in there. That we're not getting. Malcolm X wasn't like that because of Grenada. Grenada did not make Malcolm X. America made Malcolm X. And all of the other people you're talking about, even when they talk about Marcus Garvey, who never would have been a thing if he stayed in Jamaica. And then he has, some dark clouds that people are discovering over his history as well, too. So, no, we're not going to lie about it. No. And you see how she just completely skipped over that. The immigrantizing of our ancestors is what they're doing. Let me get to the super chats real quick. Let me get to my brother Antithesis. Thank you so very much. He says, Afro Elite stimulus package. Keep cooking, nephew. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, family. Thank you. And then Greatness Rises. I mean, that was a good super chat. Thank you, Antithesis. I appreciate you. Solid, family. Greatness Rises. It says Africans ignorant, thinking black is only in Africa. That's when, I mean, we know that's not the case. There are black indigenous what's that word? Fuhans, Papu. I'm gonna butcher it. Fuhans, Papus, New Guineas, which is just there's I don't even feel like zooming in to butcher it. Okay, but there's black people. Yes, you're absolutely correct. There are black people from every different from beyond the slave trade. Before the slave trade, there were black people all over the place. Dark skinned people. Even if you look up pictures of Native Americans, you will see dark skin. They don't look like the people claiming to be Native American, the $5 Indians today. They are dark skinned. I'm talking about dark. Okay. This is what Christopher Columbus and all the Europeans described them when they first came to the Americas. All right. But let me continue. Who were never slaves and have been out of Africa for 40 to 100 years, for 50 to 100,000 years. I mean, there were black people who've been, I mean, how long do you have to be outside of Africa? Beyond Africa? Let's come on now. All black people come from Africa is not true. It's historically been disproven. All right. Black skin tone, melanated skin tone, deeply rich melanin skin tone with 4C hair, with Afro textured hair, all right, with what you would consider black facial features, have been all around the world. The first people in the world looked like how we look, how I look, how you look, all right? That's what we used to look like. That's what we still look like. These people weren't even a thing until much generations and thousands of years later on, after mutation, have stripped them from melanin. Do you know melanin is a natural thing in the human skin? It's natural. Human beings have that. What they have is melanin deficiency. They're deficient in their melanin. But there's been melanated, which you would consider black, Negroed, whatever you want to call it, people who've existed. All ALL of the earliest skeletons anywhere in the world, whether you go to the Americas, whether you go to Africa, whether you go to Europe, whether you go to Asia, are all Negroes. They keep digging up and finding Negroes. There were black people all over the world. So we're not going to sit up there and be like, oh, no, black people are only from Africa now. And if you're black, that means you came from Africa, so you are African. No, we know that to be not the case. Let's get back to it. Hold on. Because these lies are coming up and they're going to become more popular, and we got to debunk these lies.
His mum's grenading. And then you've got...
Notice, his mom's grenading. His mom's grenading. But you don't mention his father. His father is out the picture. Notice that. Notice that she didn't mention his father. She just mentioned his mother. Okay.
Sidney Poitier, I think he was the first black man to win an Oscar. He's Bahamian. And then you've got Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman in Congress in America. She's from Barbados. Like, at the end of the day, we, as in the Caribbean diaspora and the African diaspora, are all up in black American culture. And that shouldn't be a bad thing. I don't know why this is a negative. For example, black British culture is made up of Caribbean people and African people, and it's not a bad thing. There is no such thing as black British culture without African people and Caribbean people. And there is no such thing as black American culture without African people and Caribbean people.
And notice you just mentioned the only people that she mentioned participated in black American culture. They didn't add their own culture. They came to an already existing culture. Our culture has been here longer than anybody else's culture. Our culture is the most dominant culture. You guys did not come, and there was not no infusion. Notice she's trying to make it seem like there was some infusion, and black culture is this mixture of everybody. No, it's not. We had the culture here. You all came here, and you guys fell in alignment, whether you talk about Charlie Chisholm or whoever you want to call it, whether that was entertainers, whether that was activists, whether that was scholars, they all fell into Black American culture that was already here centuries before they got here. So no, it's not no mixture of any and everybody. And they wouldn't, and notice that they don't do that with anybody else. It's only us that we have to have this universal culture where everybody just gets to walk in and out the house as they please. Because I couldn't go to, well, I don't know, let's say I couldn't go to Jamaica, I couldn't go to Nigeria and say, well, hold on, there's been Black Americans who've been living in Nigeria who've come to Nigeria. So Nigerian culture is kind of like a mix of FBA culture and Nigerian culture. You wouldn't have Nigerian culture if it wasn't for FBAs. I would not make it out of there alive if I said that to them. I'm talking about they would pick up the closest stone and throw that, okay? That's what they would do. I couldn't go anywhere in the world and say, well, you guys wouldn't, y'all culture doesn't only belong to you guys. Your culture also belongs to me too, because you wouldn't have it if it wasn't for me. We're fused like this. We're intertwined like this. Do you understand that? Nowhere else would I be allowed to say that, nor would I want to. They wouldn't even allow me. I wouldn't want to. But they keep coming over here saying, well, that doesn't only belong to you. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay, I don't care how many people I let in the house, still my house. It's still my house. If y'all believe that this is our house, put the house emoji in the chat room, brothers and sisters. If this is our house, no matter how much, and to be honest, this is why closing the doors are necessary. This is why we got to do that, because this is our house. All right. And this is 100% necessary. Because now we're starting to let too many people in the house. Now they thinking that it's their house and they have a claim to the house. Okay. We should have been closing and locking that door a long time ago. But now we're starting to do it. Now they all like, hold on, this isn't only your house. Yes, it is. Hold on. No, yes, it is.
Do you accept that we're all one and stop doing this whole America first, very white supremacist coded, white nationalist coded, xenophobic, weird dance that we're doing online right now? That's weird. That's weird. The sooner you realize that, like, we
now all the white supremacists followed all of these things, and that's weird. That's weird. Notice how she's projecting. Notice the projection that she's having. Notice that, right? But when they come over here, they get to talking, I mean, the Myron Gaines and all of that, the people who will literally tell us, well, I made it, and the racism doesn't exist because I made it out the mud. I got it out the mud. Stop acting like your skin color is holding you back. I don't see no racism. White people love me. That's the Myron Gaines and a lot of Tethers who come over here and say that. And notice that they don't have any smoke for them. But when we say, hold on, we are the people who define Black culture. Black culture is defined by our culture and what we say and what we do. So how are we not Black culture? They say, oh, that's weird. That's white supremacist culture and things. And I can't believe you say that.
We are all one, and you can't separate us, unfortunately, because we are so embedded in the culture. Like, it's offensive to your friends and family as Black American people to say that culturally you're not Black because you're not from America. Huh? How have we gone backwards? What is happening? We all need a trip to the motherland, clearly.
Yeah. Let me clear something up about Myron, because people are saying, well, Myron is an Arab. Okay, listen. I want everybody to say this because a lot of people may not know. There are some people who are upset, but a lot of people may not know. What it means to be Arab means that you are from an Arabic-speaking country. Okay, by definition. So you can be any race and be Arab, technically speaking, just like Hispanic. Hispanic is not a race, nor is Arab a race. All right. Hispanic means you come from a Spanish-speaking country. Arab means you come from an Arab-speaking country. So let's just, because a lot of people might not know that. So I just want to get that out the way. Okay. But you see the invasion of the culture the inclusion. Now you're immigrantizing Malcolm X, because that's, and I knew they were going to go there, and I was tracking the steps of them going there. I knew they were going to go there. I knew they were going to say, well, you know, Malcolm X, his mother completely dismissing his father, as if his father doesn't matter. And then as if Malcolm X didn't, even if his father was FBA, right? Even if his father was, he wasn't raised by his mother, nor was he raised in Grenada. He was raised in America. All he knows is America. America made Malcolm X, okay? Most of the writers you see were made in America. They're products of America, FBA or non-FBA. They're products of America. Stokely Carmichael is a product of America. He's not FBA, but he's a product of Black America. Shirley Chisholm is a product of Black America, because she wasn't able to do what she did in Barbados. So she even is a product of Black America and of our culture. And she was always grateful for that. You're invoking people's names, and they were always grateful for the opportunity, because they understood that they were stepping into a foreign culture. They understood that they were not of the culture, that they were in the culture. That's a different thing. They understood that. Now they're making it seem like, well, Shirley Chisholm was there, Stokely Carmichael was there, Malcolm X's mother was there, so really we're all this fusion and there's no separation. No, I can't do that, because I couldn't go to Grenada and say, well, hold on, Malcolm X's mother was part Grenadan, so technically Black America and Grenadan history is tied like this. They want this one-way street where they get to come in, but we don't get to go into their house. They get to come into our culture. They get to come into our lineage, our heritage, our history, but we don't get to touch theirs. And it ain't working that way. And we're not going with that. We're not going with that. Okay. Let me show some other stuff. Let me show some other stuff too. Hold on. Because we got some stuff we got to talk about. We got some stuff we got to clear up, and I appreciate y'all being here, because we are early. So what I want you guys to do is hitting that like button. Let's everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. I would greatly appreciate that from every single last one of you all. Let me get to the next clip I have here. Hold on, because we got some stuff we got to cover. We got to cover. And this is why heritage is so important, because we should have did this with Obama, but unfortunately we had to learn the hard way. But look at this.
Mr. Obama are of the same race, but not from the same heritage. Do you feel you are more personally in touch with African Americans than he, because you are a descendant of slaves?
I simply observed a fact. I didn't make any.
This was the debate all the way back, I think, when Obama was in the Senate, when he was running for the Senate, when he was trying to climb the ranks before he became president. There were brothers and sisters who are already like, hey, you know, Obama, he's not from our heritage. Obama is from a different lineage. So Obama speaking on foundational Black American culture, foundational Black American history and life, that's an outsider speaking on our culture. He's an outsider speaking on that stuff.
Conclusions from that fact, I wouldn't do so. And I thought it was rather strange in the last debate that we had, that when I talked about the effect of my heritage on my outlook, for instance, in dealing with the issue of abortion, one of the reasons I'm so intensely interested is because there's a disproportionate impact of abortion on the Black community that threatens to reduce the numbers of Black people in a way that will be quite demographically drastic over the course of the 21st century. I did misspeak a little last time, because I had said that more Black babies are being aborted than are being born. In fact, I think the ratio is 55% live births, 45% abortion. But, you know, that's still pretty bad. And it leads to a situation over time that's going to be awful for the Black community. So I think that it has an effect on one's outlook, because you look back to a heritage where things like the Declaration of Independence were critically important to making progress in the battle against slavery and in the battle for civil rights. The thought that we would discard it, that we would, for the sake of, I don't know, sexual license and other things, be talking about the world as if the Declaration didn't apply to our babies in the womb, strikes me as a devastating loss, because I know how important it was to the progress of justice in the course of our history. So that's simply a matter of how that heritage influences what I have focused on in life, what I consider to be terribly critically and important questions of justice, how I look at the present situation in terms of the plight of the black community. I do look at the larger picture sometimes, because I think it's well and good that we concentrate on helping people get jobs and education and do the things that are needed to meet the challenges of the present time. But if something's going on that's going to overall lead to genocide against the community in the long term, we'd better deal with that too.
Do you see that? I mean, there was folks who noticed that as well too back in the day. Oh, this clip is old. That's an older clip. And back in the day, they were saying, like, hold on, your heritage, that plays a part in a factor into how you see the world, into how you see the black community, into the plight of the black community. This is why when the tether is so easy to be paid off. Now, we have to understand, and we know the history, we're not ignorant people. We understand that the dominant society has always paid off bootlicks and sellouts and people who will betray black people. They've always done that. But it's so much easier for them to pick a tether out the bunch, because tethers automatically see themselves as outsiders. And instead of them having to comb through the FBA community and to pick an outsider or somebody who will go against the group, it's a lot easier to pick a tether, because the tether already automatically sees himself or herself as an outsider. So it's gonna be a lot easier for them to go along with the program. Plus, they're not gonna take that flack back. They're not gonna, whenever they get done tap dancing, shucking and jiving and bootlicking, they don't have a community that's gonna hold them accountable for it, that's gonna ostracize them for it. So it's a lot easier to pick them, which is why they invest so heavily in them and so frequently in them. And what the guy said is 100% correct. Your heritage, your upbringing, that is going to factor how you view certain situations, your how you view what is important, where your priorities lie. Okay, growing up, listening to what your parents had to go through when they were your age and when they were growing up and becoming young adults, what your grandparents had to go through, what your uncles and aunties had to go through. Growing up, learning about your history, not somebody else's history, but the history that happened to you. The Jim Crow that your grandfather and grandmother and great grandfather and grandmother had to face. That is going to factor differently. It's going to seep in your heart differently. Okay, and your passion for the community is going to be more potent when you are of the culture. Notice I keep saying of instead of in, of the culture, of the heritage, of the lineage. Is going to be different when it's that way versus when you're an outsider. Even if you want to be as respectful as you can be, when you're an outsider, you're not of it. It's a difference. When you're an outsider, you're looking through a window. We're not looking through a window. We're outside in the field. And we see things without the blur of a window, no matter how clear it is. So yes, it is important, no matter how well-being they may intend to be. Now, we know Obama wasn't, but no matter, even if Obama was, his mother, first off, he was raised by his white mama, and then his dad is Kenyan. So he's not going to hear the stories and hear the history and understand the richness of it and the importance of it. So it's a lot easier for Obama to get up there on his platform, on his stage, and talk about, well, you know what? I'm not the president of Black America. I'm not the president of white America. I'm just the president of America. It's a lot easier for Obama to dismiss, Black issues and to push this all lives matter agenda, because he's not connected to the culture. And because he's not connected to the culture, he can easily be bought off, which he was. And we unfortunately had to learn that the hard way. All right? Had to learn that the hard way. Which is why delineation is a must. which is why we use the term foundational Black American. This is why that's so important. Okay, it's important. That's an important term to use, and people don't like us using the term foundational Black American. They don't, and because foundational Black American is not something that you can remix, unfortunately, African American can be co-opted. Even Black American can be co-opted. It can be. Okay, it can be. So this is why we use foundational Black American, because that term cannot be co-opted at all. There's no way you can crowbar yourself in. If you're not of the lineage, it's airtight. The seal is airtight. Nothing gets past that. Nothing. But now they're trying to. Now I'm seeing a whole bunch of tethers. They're going around using the word foundational in other contexts. Listen to this. This is going to be a tactic that they use if we don't shut it down.
In America. And I made that video 2 days ago. Black Americans are not immigrants in America. And I made that video 2 days ago talking about Zohran Mamdani's acceptance speech and how he said immigrants built America. And I always forget that people lack a concrete understanding of what definitions mean, what themes mean, how complex themes are understood. So let's break down what an immigrant means. An immigrant is a person that leaves one country to move willingly to a foreign country, usually for better opportunities or to relocate. Black Americans could never be immigrants, even though our ancestors were brought here on boats from Africa, because we have been in America since before the inception of America. America is a newly formed country. What the natives call this land is not America. The system, the Constitution, the House of Representatives, the Congress, the executive branch, judicial branch, all the things that make the United States of America, is a product of colonialism. So the foundational Americans in America are Black Americans, descendants of formerly enslaved people.
Now, hold on. Notice. He didn't say foundational Black Americans. He said foundational Americans. Notice where this goes. Pay very close attention to where this goes.
Are Black Americans, descendants of formerly enslaved people, white European settlers that came and raided this land, and Native Americans who wholly are the original inhabitants of this land. So those three groups are the original Americans. Anyone that came after
do you hear that? No. Okay. So that's their attempt to remix FBA. To say, well, I mean, yeah, you are a foundational Black American, but there are also foundational white Americans, and there are foundational Native Americans. No. How are any of these other people foundational? You can't just use the word foundational. Foundational doesn't just mean the time in which you were here on this landmass. Foundational Black Americans mean we are the foundation to America, the country. We are the builders. We are the foundation, okay? We are the creators of a country. That's what we say when we mean foundational. That it it's not just a time thing. And then notice he said the natives, and he put a lot of emphasis on the natives, the people who are originally inhabiting here, as if there were no Black natives here or aboriginals here, all right? Because now we're seeing a whole lot of these quote unquote Native American tribes be sued and losing lawsuits because they purged out all Black members. And they were saying, well, you what membership are you? What clan are you a part of? There are no Black Indians. What clan? You're Black people, they want to be Indian so bad, but you're not a part of any clan. And now Black people are pulling up the paperwork and are suing and winning. Okay, because a lot of these people who claim to be Native American, really, they're the ones who are questionable. Truth be told, because they don't look like the original people, not based off of the descriptions, written descriptions of Europeans who first came and saw the natives, first came and saw indigenous people. They don't look like them. When you go look up the earliest pictures, they don't look like them. When you go look up the statues, they don't look like them. Okay. When you go dig up the bones, they don't look like them. So where did these Native American Siberians come from? Or rather, better question, When did they get here? Because you guys, science have proven you guys were not the first people here. The first people here look like Negroes. So when did y'all get here? That's not where. The better question is when. Who is here first? Because if the oldest bones don't look like you, that means there were people here that don't look like you. Okay? Do I gotta play the receipt? I guess I do. I guess I gotta play the receipt. Because you know we keep it on lock. We keep it on deck. We don't play no games. Hold on. We don't play no games at all. Oh, well, I'm in the wrong section, in the wrong folder. I didn't even think I was going to go there, but I decided to go there today. I decided to do it. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Okay, come on. And it was right here. Okay, hold on. Oh, here it is.
Is a Negroid face that has all the features you associate with a Negroid face. The proportions of the face, it doesn't say anything about it being Mongoloid.
Okay. That face right here. Okay. Now, these people will swear up and down that black people were all over the world except America. They will swear to you that there were no black people here before Columbus came here. That the only reason that there was a stitch of melanated blackness, kinky hair, big lip, wide nose people is because of Columbus. And there has never been a black skin that touched the soil prior to Columbus. They will look dead at this face from a skeleton and say, she is not black. She don't look like a Negro, black, whatever you want to call it. She's not that. And that people who looked exactly like her didn't show up until after Columbus did. They will swear up and down that's the case. Okay? They will say, even though she's the oldest skeleton that we found on these lands, the real Native Americans didn't look like her. The real Native Americans look like, let me show you who they say are the real Native Americans. Hold on. The real Native Americans look like this guy right here. Like this guy.
Celebs saying they're native. Ice Cube, Waka Flocka.
Okay, this guy. Hold on. Who looks like a Hispanic. He swears he's native and indigenous. He looks like a Hispanic to me. Okay? He doesn't even look Asian like that. He looks more Hispanic, if anything. But they'll say the skeleton that looks like this, that's the native, but somehow they transformed and they look like this, but they're the real indigenous people. Okay. Just don't believe your eyes, because, I mean, common sense is what they say it is. Common sense is what they say it is. But notice how he's using the word foundational and making it seem as if there's categories of it. Going back to the clip.
Of America, the country was.
Okay. To say, well, if we say foundational Black Americans, other people can be foundational too. No, they're not. Because even the people that you classify as Native American, they're not foundational. They signed treaties to not be a part of America. They were not a part of the building of America. They're not a part of America. They signed treaties. So no, they forfeit their right to be quote unquote foundational. Now, they were foundational parts of the slave trade. They were slave catchers and they owned slaves. So you can say they're foundational parts of slavery, but they're not foundational as far as building. They did not build America.
Created is considered an immigrant. So that would be the Chinese immigrants, that would be those Caribbean immigrants, the Asian immigrants, the African immigrants, and yes, even those Mexican immigrants, because state lines are created Mexico is a newly formed country as a product of colonialism and imperialism, the same way that Haiti is, the same way that Jamaica is. So part of my family is Haitian. Would you consider Haitians not Haitian because they are from Haiti? Would you consider someone from Brazil not Brazilian because they're black? So are they immigrants in Brazil? Would you consider Mexicans immigrants, even though Mexicans are mestizo, part native, part European? Would you consider any of those people immigrants? There's a concerted effort to minimize the claim of ownership of Americanness for black people, or our fight in this country, or how we develop this country, because immigrants are here. Immigrants are a large part of America's story, but there are still foundational Americans that were the original people who formulated this country. And without immigrants, America would not be the powerhouse that it is. And that is a fact. America is a nation of immigrants and immigration, always has been. But that does not change the fact that there are.
No, it has not always has been. No. America was built way before, and you see, he's by ethnic, according to him. Now, what he says is that one of his parents is from Haiti and another one is from America. That's what he claims. Okay, jury's still out on that. But America is a nation of immigrants. How is America a nation of immigrants if the slaves built the country? And anytime they say that, that strips away from the fact that America was built by slaves. They make it seem as slavery was a incidental thing that happened without consequence in America. No, it was not. It was the reason why America is America. It was the whole entire reason why America is America. So you can't say immigrants, America is a nation of immigrants when immigrants didn't come until after America was already built, after there was a government, after there was a flowing economy, after it was jobs and opportunities and resources and all of that due to the slave labor. Now they want to say, well, America is a country of immigrants. No. It's not a country of immigrants if y'all are not the foundation. If immigrants were the foundation, it would be, but you're not. Slaves were the foundation. So their descendants and their offspring and their lineage, that is the foundation. We are foundations. We are the foundationals. They are, you guys are the foundationals, okay? There is no foundational anything else. There's only foundational Black Americans. That's the only thing there is. Nothing else can be foundational because nothing else was the foundation. Immigrants are not the foundation. You can't say that Black Americans are the foundation of America, but also this is a country of immigrants. That's an oxymoron. Those two things can't exist in the same sentence. You can't say that Black American slaves are the foundation of America, but it's also Native Americans who are not the foundation. Okay, and then a lot of these Native Americans were kicking Black people out the tribes, and a lot of them are Europeans who paid $5 to get on the Dawes roll so they can be classified as Native American. Nobody else is foundational, and I'm nipping that in the bud right now.
Original Americans. In the same way that you guys respect Caribbean people being from the Caribbean, Latin American people being from Latin America, and still those countries can have immigration, you have to respect that there are people who are foundational Americans that have been in this country since before the inception of America. And that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Do you see that? Now, I want you to understand that. That's how, because they're so desperate to try to include themselves and to include other people, to break the seal, because we got such an airtight seal with the word foundational Black American. Is so airtight, and they have been putting in so much effort and time into trying to break the seal of foundational Black American so they can include other things in there. So what they're deciding to do is they're deciding to say, you know what, okay, well, instead of trying to break the word foundational, we'll just say foundational means more people. We'll expand who foundational is. No, that's their tactic, but we're not letting that slide. Them trying to expand foundational. No, no. We're not letting that happen, because then you would have to prove how these other people were foundational, and they're not. The Europeans are not foundational. The who you consider to be, and notice he put a lot of effort, the Native Americans, they're not foundational to America. No, they were not considered Americans. When even until we had to fight a whole civil war that they kind of fought on the opposite side. They fought on the Confederate. A lot of these Native Americans, they were helping to keep slavery, because even after the Civil War, they actually still held on to their slaves. So the what you consider the Native Americans, they wanted to keep slavery. So they're not foundational at all. They're on the opposite side. They're on the bad side of history. This is going to be their way. It's not going to work, because I'm here and I'm going to be on it, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't work. I'm going to make sure that what they're doing does not work. I'm personally, I'm letting you guys know this. It's a guarantee. I'm sure that it's not going to work, because I won't let it work. I know y'all won't let it work, but I'm letting you know I won't let it work either, because they're trying to say, well, you know, we're foundational Americans, and they keep trying to skip over the black. Foundational Americans, which means anybody who was here before the Revolutionary War, they would say is foundational Americans, and we can't let that happen. No, because the only people who are foundational are the people who built it. You cannot be foundational if you are not the builders or the descendants of the builders. Then you are not foundational to it. Foundation, the first step, the first brick, the first thing, the foundation which everything lays on top of. If America as a country is laid on top of slave labor, then slave labor is the foundation. That means the slaves are the foundation. That's what that means by definition. Now they're trying to expand the word foundational to mean anybody who was here prior to 1776. And that we're not going with that. No. If we are the first brick to America, then we're the first base, rather, to America, then that's what it is. And we're not going to give anybody else that, because what you're doing is you're giving them our credit. You're giving them my ancestors credit. And I can't let that slide. I can't let that happen. I won't let that happen. I won't. This is their tactic. This is what they're doing. It's out of desperation. It's pathetic. It's desperate. But we're going to stop it. Let me get to this other super chat from Greatness Rises. Says many FBAs went to Europe before 1865, even between the 1900s and the 1950s. Okay. Example, Josephine Baker. That's true. FBAs have a history in Europe, music, literature, food. That's true. Tethers took claim of FBA accomplishments in Europe and don't give us credit. That's true. To be honest, we were a big factor into why Europe is still a thing, because foundational Black Americans had to actually go and rebuild Europe. So we're a factor into that. We're a factor into all of that. You get it? You understand now? So we're not allowing anybody else to join claim. And there's so much to talk about, y'all. It's a lot. But we're not letting that slide. We are not letting that slide. We won't let that slide. But what I need you guys to do is to understand that this is their tactic. This is what they're pulling up. Okay? They're embellishing. Now, you saw this other dude before on this thing. Now they're saying that, you know, the whole African booty scratcher thing, we were the ones telling them that they were Black. They were the ones saying that they were Indian. They were the ones denying their Blackness. You see the lies. They're projecting lies because you all were the ones running away from Blackness, not us. We were the ones saying, y'all know you're Black. They said, no, we are African. That's what y'all was saying. And we got the receipts that y'all were saying that. We got the receipts that y'all didn't like being called Black and y'all were skin bleaching. The fact that skin bleaching in the year 2025 is still a thing. Y'all can't sit up there and project that lie as if we all don't have access to the internet. We're shutting that down. All of that's getting shut down. Family, I want to know what you guys think about tonight's live stream. I also want to know what you guys think about the time change. Let me know what you guys think. It's a good thing we had a decent amount of people in here. Normally we go live at a certain time, and we've been doing that for years, really ever since we started. So we've been doing that for a very long time, and very, very rarely have we changed the time and had it like much earlier. Even if we go later, it tends to be late, but normally when we change it, we don't go earlier. So we've done that a few times, but okay. And it caught a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people, expect us to go live at a certain point in time. I get it. I know. But I want to know what you guys think about it, because it seems like the audience, there's audience for the day and then there's audience for the night. So I want to know what you guys think about it. And I want to know what you guys think about the content that we said. And I want to know what you guys think about the Tethers trying to infiltrate by using the word foundational as if it doesn't only mean foundational Black American. Let me know what y'all think about that. But do this first. Hit that like button first. Hit that subscribe button first. And hit the notification bell. All right. And before we get out of here, can we do it one more time? If you Black and you proud, if we're all Black and we're all proud of being Black, and we never ran from being Black, and we love that, okay? And we were never ashamed of that. Put the Black fist emoji in the chat room. I just one last time. Can we do that? Can we put the Black fist emoji in the chat room? If Blackness is something that you take pride in and not something you're ashamed of, not something you run from, not something you were hiding. You weren't hiding where you were from, your lineage, your heritage, unlike them who are now coming out here making it seem as if they were the Malcolm X's of their time. Put the Black fist emoji in the chat. I appreciate you, family. I do. Thank you guys for the super chats. I appreciate that. Let me give them one last big applause to the super chats. And to you. And with that being said, Black first to every single last one of y'all, I appreciate y'all for being here with us this early evening. Y'all have a blessed one.